Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome to my follow-up video of the lift kit I was doing for my 80 series Land Cruiser. I'll show you, I'm pretty sure I've got some before pictures, and I tried to come out to the same spot. I'm not sure if it's the right spot or not, but I'll show you some before and after pictures. See what you guys think. So at the end of this video, I will, the first video I showed the rear suspension, I was installing the rear suspension. At the end of this video, I did a little bit on the front. Front was a little bit more work. There was some stuff I didn't record, and you know, it wasn't a how-to video anyway, so I'll show you a little bit of that at the end of this video. But this is the result here. My first time. I'm out in just a little bit of dirt. I need to get an alignment before I do too much driving. And just like everything else nowadays, alignment, I'm 3.5 weeks out to get an alignment. So I really hate the way the world is today. Took me 8 or 9 months to get my suspension parts. Now it's going to take almost 4 weeks to get an alignment. It's like you just can't do anything anymore like you used to, you know. It kind of, spreading it out like that kind of takes some of the fun out of it. But it feels good. It feels, wow, it feels really a lot bigger, right? Because the suspension was so worn out. The original factory suspension was so worn out that it was down about an inch to an inch and a quarter to inch and a half, almost, like lower than. So it went up a little over 4 inches with this quote 3-inch lift. You never know. You never know exactly. You know, it has a lot to do with the weight that's on the car. Sometimes the coils, like the coils on my Lexus, I think they've sagged. Those Icon coils on the Lexus, I think they've sagged down a little bit because, I mean, I off-road it pretty hard, but that shouldn't make a difference. It feels a little bit saggy, but this is what it looks like. I think it turned out really good. I definitely wouldn't want it any higher than this. I believe in the low center gravity rule when it comes to off-roading. You know, too big, and you know, there's a lot you can do with taller vehicles with clearance and stuff, but I like to try and keep it not too big. I mean, 3-inch lifts is pretty good size. And these tires are, the number on them, these are the Toyo Open Countries. And the size on them is 285/75. So according to their factory specifications, these are just under a 34-inch tire. I think they're 33.6 or 0.8, somewhere in there. I put them next to the Falcons that are 33.1, 255/80, I think. Anyway, they are all about, you know, when they're the two spare tires next to each other, they're about close to 1 inch. You know, it's hard to see when you're looking at tread, but so I thought I'd try and find a middle ground, right? Because 33s for something like this, I think, were a little bit smaller than I wanted. And 35s, probably a little bit, I mean, I'd love to have 35s, but you know, this thing doesn't have a lot of power. You'd have to really re-gear it and stuff. I think these 34s might be a sweet spot. They look pretty good. I think they look good. Like, I've got the 33s on the Lexus and the 100 series Land Cruiser. On the 100, they look too small. you know, because it's a big car, it's a big SUV, and they look a little too small, a little too skinny. These end up being, say, 3/4 of an inch bigger, and they're 1 inch wider. So instead of 10, say 10 whatever, these are 11, just a little bit wider. I think this might be a sweet spot for a lot of people. And I don't have anything to report yet on the Toyos. I haven't driven them much. They look really good. I think they look more aggressive. I think the tread pattern looks just a little bit more aggressive than the Wild Peak. But I can tell you for sure, these brand new tires, I can hear them a little, they're a little bit louder than the Falken Wild Peaks. Just a little bit, you know, I could tell right away that they were a little bit louder. And they were talking about brand new tires, so that's when they're going to be their quietest, right? It could be that I need an alignment, but they do seem to be a little bit louder. I'm pretty happy with it. It was tough to put the lift on just because I had limited space in my garage. But I did it by myself, one person, and other than the space limitations, you know, getting up and down off the ground like 100 times, everything went in pretty good. The front coils were a little bit tough to get in. I did use some those spring compressors, but only a little bit. I have some decent ones that aren't going to snap, well, hopefully, but I just needed to take up about 1 inch, and I got them on. Because there is a hydraulic bump stop in the middle, it was, you know, you didn't have as much room to kind of feed it up in there. It worked out pretty good. But I'm not gonna, I wanted to go off-road, but I think I'm gonna wait for this alignment, because I can tell it turned my steering wheel a little bit, you know, with the lift. My wheel was already a little bit off because I was trying out some new steering wheels that I got from the junkyard. And when I put it back on, I went underneath and replaced the grommet in the firewall, and I had it disconnected under there. And when I put it back on, I was like 1 or 2 teeth off, and it made my steering wheel a little bit crooked. So before I correct it, I'm gonna get the alignment, and then I'll correct the steering wheel. But other than that, I think it's gonna be good. I need to get up in it now like I do the Jeep. Before I kind of got down into it. But I think it's, I'm happy with the height. You know, you never know till you get the end result, and you're hoping that it's what you were looking for, not only in function, but in form too. And I think it looks good where it's at now. And I hope that, I mean, I'm sure it's gonna off-road good, but as soon as I get the alignment, I'll take it out. And I'll probably take it out into the desert where there's some rocks and boulders and trenches and stuff. These, you know, up in the forest where I'm at now, the roads are pretty mild compared to what happens out in the desert with the bigger boulders and the washouts and stuff. So anyway, I'll go ahead and cut over to some of the footage that I did from the front. Not too much, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know in the comment section what you guys think. I hope the camera will pick up the difference, but it's about, from where it was before, it's about 4 inches taller, and that's 4 inches measured with the new tires. It wasn't like I measured it with the old tires and then I put the new tires in the lift and remeasured. I had the tires on already, so they fit fine without rubbing on a factory suspension that was like way down. So people trying to fit 35s, I think the problem with 35s are they get them so damn wide, that's where they start to have rubbing issues. You know, 12.5-inch wide is standard for a 35, but they end up being like, depending on the width of your wheel, they end up being 13 inches wide. These are 11 something wide on 7-inch TRD wheels. Yeah, you got to kind of put the whole combo together. So I got almost 34-inch tires on here with a sagging factory suspension, and it didn't rub. Then with the lift, of course, it's free and clear all over the place. So I'll go ahead and cut on over to the other stuff, you guys. Thanks for watching. All right, so I'm going to get started on the front here. What I'm going to be removing is shock, spring, this bump stop in here, radius arms. I'm going to put in a drop bracket for the sway bar. I'm also going to do the panhard bar, lateral link, extend the brake line, both brake lines up here and the one in the rear. I've already got the, I disconnected the ABS, which locks into this bolt and it clamps to the sway bar. So I disconnected that. so it won't bind on me. I'm just spraying all the bolts down right now with some liquid wrench penetrating oil. I already got the bolts out of the little sway bar here, the sway bar bracket. So the only issue is I don't have the shocks yet. And I don't have the steering stabilizer, but that's not important right now. I don't have the shocks yet, and the shock is what limits the travel going down. So I'm going to try and do all this, get it back on its tires till I get the shocks. Crunchy. Jesus. That is disgusting. That shock's blown out. That one doesn't look as bad, but my God, that bottom one. Jesus. So I'm at the point of removing the radius arms now. These two big arms. I got all the bolts are loose. I got this rear bolt out here. I got to do the front too. So just a word of warning. These have notches in them that lock one side in. So on the back here, where they call the frame side, on the frame side, the notches are on the head of the bolt, not the nut. So you want to loosen the nut. You try and loosen this side with it tight, it's bit in there, you'll never get it off. So you loosen the nut on the frame side, then on the front it's the opposite. So the axle side, the lock nuts are on the nut, or the locking little lugs are on the nut and not on the bolt. So on the front ones, you loosen it from the bolt side like this. So it's opposite. I got this one loose. I got two up there to do. And my configuration here is I've got, it's on jack stands just behind the mounting location at the chassis. And the tires are on the ground. So it's kind of a balance between get a little bit of the weight on jack stands, but you want your tires on the ground to work with this. Because this is what's holding your axle from spinning. The panhard bar is keeping it from going side to side. This is what's keeping it going forward and back and rotating. So by putting on, you can put on a number of things. Caster bushings that offset your bolts. You can put on plates. I'm putting whole new arms on, which is going to rotate the axle back to the proper caster position. So this is going to be hard for me to film because I'm trying to get in and out of between these jack stands, and I don't want to be underneath these things, but I just wanted to explain what I was doing. These all came out pretty good. I mean, there's some corrosion on the bolt. I've got all new bolts. The kit came with new bolts from Delta Vehicle Systems. Should be pretty cool. It's a sway bar. Alright, there we go. So on the other side, I've already got it in the front hole and in the chassis hole, but I couldn't line it up because this one was holding it back. The axle's got to rotate to the proper caster before I can actually attach all the bolts. Worked pretty good. All right, you guys, so that's it. That's the end. I'll show you a few pics here at the end. I'm really happy the way it turned out. I like the width of the tires and I kind of like taller, skinnier tires nowadays. I think they do really good. I've proven that in the snow and the mud driving I've shown you on a lot of the videos I've done lately. They work really well, and they work good on these Toyotas. I like it a lot. I was happy the way it turned out. I think the height of it is perfect. It's going to take a little getting used to getting in and out of it. But yeah, overall, really happy with it. The only thing now to do is to get the alignment and take it out and whomp the crap out of it off-road. All right, you guys, thanks for watching.